Hello everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Creative Quick Builds. This episode I want to focus on a new style that we haven't yet tackled in this series, and that is futuristic, but I want to add a twist. I want to make it a futuristic ruin. Now, this idea is based off the suggestion by someone named the Foxraptor, who left an awesome comment in the last video where we built this robot. So, thank you very much, the Foxraptor. But before we begin, I'd like to ask a question. What do you think of my intros? Are they too long? Are they too short? Are they a little bit too wordy, or do you think they're just right? I'm trying to improve, and I would like to know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks. And with the boring introductory stuff out of the way, it is now time to find a spot for the build, and I think this spot is perfectly suited to it. It's nice and flat, with very few trees, so I won't have to break much stuff down, although I will have to modify the terrain somewhat, so I'm going to start with that. So I did just that and flattened the terrain a little bit so it could hold the foundation of the build better, and I want to start on the foundation now. And I've just realized that I haven't really explained what exactly I want to build. I've explained the theme, but not the particular build. So what I want to do here is kind of build a bit of a decrepit laboratory, something that's been abandoned either as a result of a experiment gone wrong or just, lack of funding, which can happen. It's unfortunate, but it does. So I want to build kind of the laboratory portion right here, and then perhaps a bit of a space pad or helipad with some kind of wrecked vehicle on top of it. Lots of vines and leaves, but we'll get to that later. Here we have the foundation all set, and as you can tell by my little pseudo-dome here, this is going to be a dome-based structure, so it's going to be mostly just little white domes made out of smooth quartz. So there's going to be one extending here, one here, and then an independent one here that is a block higher than the rest of it, which will lead, of course, into the launch pad, which I talked about earlier. This isn't a dome, this is an arch. Silly me. This is a dome. That's an arch. Get it right, Kian. Confusing terminology aside, we now have ourselves a completed structure. Now it is time for the finer detail. Sector 1, this is Green Gopher calling in for a progress update. No further activity has commenced at the newly built facilities, but I will keep you updated. Over. This has been me for the past 5 minutes trying to retake this shot over and over again. Can't seem to get it right. Anyways, it's been about an hour and I've completed the details on the inside and the outside, so I think this is a perfect time for a tour. Starting, of course, with the front entrance, where we have a cleansing chamber where you get sprayed by these furnaces with cleansing liquids in order to make you applicable to enter the lab. Once you get sprayed, you can pass through these curtains into the laboratory environment where you approach a cutting table. It's just some iron and a fridge, filing cabinets, and a bunch of scientific junk strewn about everywhere because, the scientists are busy. They don't have time to clean up. We've also got a ventilation chamber for those experiments that have a bunch of fumes. You obviously don't want to fill the lab up with fumes, so you put them in there. And, wither roses are quite deadly, so I think in there is a good spot for them. And we've got a table to hold all the empty pots, I guess. It's really up to interpretation what these can be. So, yeah, make up your own mind, I guess. Moving swiftly on, we enter through these curtains into the experiment room, where we have some deadly wither roses going, maybe some dead plants that possibly were wither roses at one point, but weren't quite suited to the laboratory environment, so they died. We've also got some possibly deadly fungi, and then some more wither roses. In the center here, there's some chemical sinks that vent to the atmosphere, and on the sides, I've just got a bunch of fancy lighting. Maybe this is where you can put bacteria to, I guess, do their bacteria things. I'm not a very good biologist. I don't know that much, so I'm going to leave that to interpretation. Now we can move on to the exterior, which doesn't have all that much in terms of detail, but it doesn't really need all that much in terms of detail because it's a futuristic build and it relies more on its shape to generate intrigue than its fine detail, such as in that robot there, or the gardens I built in the third episode of this series. So I've just got a couple things, like these supports here, the windows, and this 7 that looks kind of like a Waluigi symbol. Pure accident, I swear. Anyways, we've also got this chimney, and yeah, that's pretty much it for the detail of this place. And you'll notice that I neglected to talk about this landing pad a moment ago when I was describing the exterior of this building, and that's because it's not quite finished. You see, I promised you a giant rocket ship, and it currently isn't here. So what I want to do now is I want to build a sizable rocket ship to make this landing pad look a little bit less lonely. And then we can trash this build, which I'm quite looking forward to. And just like that, we have ourselves a completed rocket, and I think it looks very fancy indeed. Now, Obviously, it isn't really functional as a rocket. This design would not fly in real life. It is just not practical at all. I mean, the passenger compartment is here, and that's usually where the fuel is, so, you know, reality kind of goes out of the window, but this is futuristic, and I kind of have some leeway because of that, so I think it's fine for this application. And now that the final bit of this build has been assembled, we can finish its storyline and completely trash the place, making it into a ruin. One significant catastrophe later, and we have ourselves a ruined laboratory. Laboratory or laboratory? I can never get that right. Not sure how it's pronounced. I guess it's both ways. Anyways, let's have a look around. Moving into the entryway, it looks like we have a malfunctioned cleansing system that is spewing hilariously bouncy slime instead of cleaning materials, so that's pretty funny. Moving inside, we've got evidence of a hasty exit with materials strewn about and drawers left open. Here's an out-of-control plant that's poking holes in the ceiling and walls. In here, we've got ourselves a fancy-schmancy acid spill. Looks deadly, not gonna touch it. The mushrooms seem to have spread, and of course a spider infestation in the corner here, because what desolation wouldn't be complete without a spider infestation? Oh yeah, and the wither rose has grown quite large, probably the reason of the evacuation in the first place. Outside, the damage seems a little less dire, with just a few leaves poking through holes in the wall, and then of course this giant wither rose making an literal impact in the side of the building. And you'll notice here that I haven't really done anything to the rocket, and that's because I thought it would be neat to think of this as an outside visitor coming in and quickly leaving again as they see the damage done to the lab. Here's the Steve figure inside the rocket there. Here we are back in our designated tree with this project all completed. I have to say this was a very fantastic idea, and it was lots of fun to construct, so thank you again for the suggestion. If you'd like to make requests for future videos, please put that in the comments. I enjoyed that input. And if you enjoyed this, please consider subscribing. Anyways, thank you very, very much for watching. Have a fantastic day, and see you next time. Goodbye.